I have good news for you, and it's not just any news. It's the kind that makes your heart skip a beat and reminds you that life has its most beautiful moments when you least expect them. Today, I stand here not as a perfect person, but as someone whose feelings are genuine, real, and impossible to ignore. I want to share with you something that comes straight from my heart, something that's been waiting for the right moment and the right person to hear it. I have good news for you, and I hope that as I speak these words, you can feel the sincerity behind them because what I am about to say comes from the deepest part of my heart, the part that sometimes hides behind everyday words and gestures. But now it has found the courage to speak, to reach you, and to reveal a truth that I have carried quietly for so long. You see, life has a way of surprising us when we least expect it, presenting us with moments that shimmer with possibility, moments that remind us why we keep going, why we keep hoping, why we keep dreaming. And today, this moment, this conversation is one of those moments. It is not just a simple conversation. It is not just casual words floating in the air. It is a sharing of something vital, something raw and unfiltered, something that has grown quietly like a seed in the soil of my heart, nourished by thoughts of you, by memories of your laughter, by the simple warmth that your presence brings into my life. I want you to understand that the news I have is not measured in things, in achievements, or in fleeting pleasures. It is measured in feeling, in connection, in the kind of emotion that can make a person's chest feel lighter and heavier all at once. Because it is real, it is alive, and it carries with it the weight and beauty of truth. You might wonder why I call this news good, and the reason is simple. It is good because it is sincere, it is good because it matters. It is good because it has the power to touch your heart the way you have touched mine, without even knowing it. Every smile you have shared, every moment you have laughed or simply existed in the same space as me, has accumulated quietly in my mind and heart, forming a mosaic of feelings that I can no longer keep to myself. And so, here I am, sharing this with you, hoping that in hearing it, you will sense the honesty, the vulnerability, and the quiet excitement that comes from opening one's heart completely, without reservations or hesitation. I have good news for you because I've realized that life, in all its complexity, is made infinitely better when shared with someone who matters, someone who makes the ordinary extraordinary, someone whose mere existence can turn a moment of silence into a symphony of emotions, and whose presence can turn a simple glance into a memory that lingers long after the eyes have looked away. It is easy to say words like I care or I like you, but the truth I am offering today is far more than words. It is an acknowledgement of a feeling that has grown quietly, persistently, and powerfully within me, a feeling that has been nurtured by every thought of you, by every daydream in which your laughter echoes, by every fleeting hope that you might feel even a fraction of what I feel in this very moment. And in sharing this, I want you to know that it is not born of impulse, nor is it fleeting. It is deliberate, considered, and patient, shaped by understanding who you are and how profoundly you have touched my life, often without even realizing it. This news is good because it represents the opening of my heart, an offering that is not bound by expectation but by the genuine wish to share something precious with someone equally precious. It is good because it carries the kind of hope that does not demand immediate answers, that does not rush, that simply exists as a light shining in the quiet corners of possibility, waiting only for the moment when you are ready to see, to acknowledge it, to embrace it. I have come to understand that the most valuable things in life are often intangible. The small gestures, the moments of quiet understanding, the shared smiles, the way someone's presence can make everything feel more real, more meaningful, more alive. And in that understanding, I have realized that the good news I bring is one of those intangibles, one of those truths that cannot be bought or earned, but can only be felt and accepted. It is a truth that has been growing steadily, quietly, with patience and care. And now it is ready to be spoken aloud, to exist outside the confines of my mind and heart, to breathe in the open air, and to reach you in the most honest and unguarded way. I have good news for you because I have discovered that my feelings are no longer silent, no longer hesitant, no longer waiting in the shadows for a sign or a moment that might never come. They are present, palpable, undeniable, and they are directed entirely at you, shaped by everything I have observed, felt, and imagined, and by the subtle ways you have changed the rhythm of my days without even trying. I want you to understand that these feelings are not superficial. They are not fleeting. They are rooted deeply. intertwined with the way I see the world, with the way I experience moments, with the way I breathe, with the way I imagine what life could be if it were shared with someone who has already made it infinitely richer simply by existing in it. And in saying this, I am not asking for a promise, a return, or a specific outcome. I am simply offering a truth that has waited long enough to be heard, a truth that has grown beyond private thoughts and into the realm of spoken words because there comes a moment when the heart must speak, when silence is no longer sufficient, when holding back is no longer an option. The good news, in essence, is that you are important, you matter, you have inspired feelings that are honest, unwavering, and profound, and that in this very moment I am choosing to recognize them openly, without hesitation, without fear, without doubt, because it feels like the right thing to do, the natural progression of what I have carried quietly for so long. And though words will always fall short of fully capturing the depth of emotion, though gestures can only hint at what is felt, inside, though every attempt to explain may seem inadequate, I still offer them because they are what I have, because they are the medium through which my heart can reach you, because they are the most honest expression of the hope, admiration, and affection that I carry each day, every day, whether near or far, whether noticed or unnoticed, whether spoken of or not. The news is good because it is real, because it is unpretentious, because it is unfiltered, because it has survived the quiet tests of time and reflection and still shines as brightly in my heart as it did when it first sparked. It is good because it embodies courage, the courage to be vulnerable, the courage to risk, the courage to stand before someone who has become essential to the rhythm of your days and say plainly, without pretense, without embellishment, without fear, that this feeling exists and matters and is worth sharing. I have good news for you because it is a truth I cannot contain any longer, a truth that has become too big for silence, too urgent for hesitation, too meaningful for private contemplation. It is a truth that represents possibility, a truth that embodies hope, a truth that carries with it the potential for connection, understanding, and the quiet joy of knowing that something genuine exists between us, something that could flourish, grow, and endure if nurtured with patience, care, and honesty. And as I say this, I want you to feel the calmness, the steadiness, and the clarity of this message because it is not spoken in haste, nor is it a fleeting whim. It is the culmination of reflection, of admiration, of quiet observation, and of the recognition of something extraordinary in you that has left an indelible mark on my heart. It is the acknowledgement that you have become a part of my inner world, a world that often remains hidden, a world that is cautious and deliberate, yet now, in this moment, opens fully to let you in, to show you the depth of feeling that has grown patiently and persistently, because it knew that, when the right moment arrived, it would be ready to speak, and that moment is now. The good news is not a question, it is not a demand, it is not a condition. It is simply a statement, an offering, a truth presented with the hope that it resonates, that it touches, that it allows you to see, even briefly, how profoundly you have mattered to someone who has carried this quietly, who has cherished the small interactions, the fleeting glances, the moments of shared silence, and who now, with nothing more than a desire to be open and honest, lays this before you because some truths, once they exist, cannot remain silent forever, and because the feeling I bring is strong enough, genuine enough, and beautiful enough to be shared, no matter the outcome, no matter the response, no matter the circumstances. I have good news for you, and as I speak these words, I hope you can feel the quiet weight and care behind them. Because what I am about to share is not casual, it is not fleeting, it is not a momentary thought. It is something that has been growing steadily inside me, patiently, persistently, with the care of someone who has come to understand the value of depth, the importance of presence, and the subtle, extraordinary ways in which one person can impact another without ever realizing it. The good news is not about grandeur, it is not a boo T declarations for the world to see. It is about truth, it is about honesty, it is about the simple, profound fact that my heart has recognized something rare, something extraordinary, something that has made life richer and more meaningful than I ever imagined possible. And that something, that extraordinary presence, is you. It is the way you move through your day, the way your laughter carries warmth, the way a glance from you can illuminate moments that otherwise might have passed unnoticed. I have realized that life is made of countless small fragments, moments of silence, moments of laughter, moments of quiet understanding, and that among all these moments, some shine brighter than others, some stay with us longer than others, some shape us in ways we cannot always articulate. You, without even trying, have become one of those moments for me, one of those fragments that I return to again and again in thought, one of those parts of life that makes everything else feel more vibrant, more alive, more full of possibility. And so, the good news I bring is simple yet profound. The feelings I have are genuine, unwavering, and deeply rooted. They are not born of impulse, nor are they fleeting. They are the product of reflection, observation, admiration, and the quiet joy that comes from recognizing someone who matters so profoundly that the mind cannot help but dwell on them, the heart cannot help but respond to them, and the soul cannot help but recognize a rare kind connection that is not forced, that is not fabricated, that exists simply because it has always been there, waiting for acknowledgement. The news is good because it is an offering of vulnerability, a rare gift. In a world that often encourages restraint, caution, and distance, to share these feelings is to step into openness, to speak without pretense, to reveal a truth that could be hidden forever but instead chooses to exist in the light, to be heard, to be acknowledged, to have the possibility of connection in return, even if only in understanding. You may wonder why this matters, why this news is important, why it deserves a moment of attention. It matters because it is authentic. It matters because it is deliberate. It matters because it has been considered, nurtured, and allowed to grow until it could no longer remain silent, until it demanded to be expressed, until it demanded to reach you, the person who has inspired it all without ever knowing the full extent of the impact you have had. And so I offer it here, without expectation, without demand, without urgency. I offer it because it feels necessary, because it feels right, because it is a reflection of how meaningful you have become in the life of someone who watches quietly, admires deeply, and cares profoundly. The good news is not a grand gesture. It is not a gift that can be wrapped or tied with a bow. It is a truth, a statement of reality, a reflection of the way the heart feels when it recognizes something extraordinary. It is the acknowledgement that life is better, brighter, and more beautiful because of your presence, because of the way you move, speak, laugh, think, and simply exist. And in acknowledging this, I hope you can feel the steadiness behind the words, the calm sincerity, the patient reflection that has led to this moment. I have observed, I have waited, I have reflected, and now I speak, not in hasty, not in desperation, but with a steady, deliberate honesty that seeks only to communicate what has long existed quietly within. I have good news for you because I have realized that feelings of this depth and sincerity cannot remain hidden forever. They demand expression, they demand recognition, they demand to find their voice, even if the outcome is uncertain, even if the response is unknown, even if the world does not notice. What matters is that the truth exists, and that it is shared, and that the person who has inspired it is given the chance to hear it, to feel it, to understand it. And that is what I am doing now. The good news is also about possibility, the possibility that connection, understanding, and mutual recognition can exist, that what has grown quietly in one heart can find resonance in another, that moments of honesty can open doors to new experiences, new depths, new understandings of each other and of life itself. It is about recognizing that love, affection, admiration, and deep regard are not trivial things. They are forces that shape who we are, who we become, and how we experience the world around us. And so, the good news I share is layered with hope, patience, and the quiet confidence that what is true and real has a way of revealing itself when the time is right. I have good news for you because I have learned that courage is not loud, that bravery is not always about grand gestures, that true expression comes from the heart, in the calm, deliberate acknowledgement of what is deeply felt. It is in moments like this, in words spoken honestly, in vulnerability offered openly, that life becomes richer, that relationships gain depth, that connect ions form in ways that are meaningful, lasting, and profoundly human. And I want you to understand that this is not about perfection, nor is it about expectation. It is about recognition, honesty, and the willingness to share what matters most in the quiet chambers of the heart. The good news exists because it is real, because it is grounded, because it carries no pretension and no artificial embellishment. It is simply what it is, a heartfelt acknowledgement of the way you have mattered, continue to matter, and have inspired feelings that are both beautiful and enduring. I have good news for you because the heart, once it recognizes something extraordinary, cannot ignore it, cannot contain it, cannot pretend it does not exist. It must speak, it must act, it must acknowledge what is there, quietly, steadily, and sincerely. And that is what this moment represents. It is the culmination of reflection, observation, patience, and quiet admiration. It is the manifestation of a feeling that has been nurtured carefully, deliberately, and persistently, until it became too significant, too genuine, and too important to remain unspoken. The news is good because it embodies honesty, the kind of honesty that carries with it respect, care, and an understanding of the delicate balance between vulnerability and strength. It is not reckless, it is not careless, it is not imposed, it is offered freely, deliberately, and with the hope that it may be received as the sincere truth that it is. And though words alone can never fully capture the depth of feeling, they are what I have, they are what I can offer, they are the bridge between thought and reality, between silent admiration and the opportunity to share what has long been held close, quietly, inside. I have good news for you because it is a truth that deserves to be known, deserves to be acknowledged, deserves to exist beyond the confines of private reflection. It is a truth that has the power to inspire, to move, to touch, to create understanding, and to open a space for connection that is meaningful, calm, and profoundly sincere. And as I share this, I hope you can feel the steadiness, the care, and the depth of what is being said, because it is not casual, it is not ordinary, it is not light. It is a reflection of how profoundly someone can be affected by your existence, your presence, your essence. And in this, the news is indeed good, because it is rare, it is honest, it is true, and it is entirely unapologetically real. I have good news for you, and as I share it, I hope you can feel the weight, the patience, and the quiet thoughtfulness behind every word, because this is not simply something I decided to say lightly. This is the result of reflection, observation, and the gentle unfolding of feelings that have grown steadily, persistently, and patiently over time, until they could no longer remain hidden. Life has a way of presenting moments that feel ordinary on the surface, moments that pass by unnoticed by the world. Yet these same moments hold extraordinary significance when they touch the right heart, the right soul, and the right presence. And in countless moments, you have been that extraordinary presence in my life, though perhaps never fully aware of the impact you have had, the quiet transformation you have inspired, and the way the simplest gestures, the smallest smiles, the briefest glances, have left indelible marks upon the quiet chambers of my heart. The good news I bring is rooted in this recognition. It is rooted in the understanding that connection, genuine affection, and admiration are forces powerful enough to shift perspectives, to shape emotions, and to infuse even the most mundane days with meaning. I have discovered, through careful reflection, that feelings of this depth do not arrive suddenly. They do not appear fully formed without reason or cause. They grow slowly, quietly, like a stream carving its path through stone, like a plant taking root in fertile soil, nurtured by observation, thought, and the repeated awareness of someone whose presence enriches life in ways words cannot fully capture. And so, the good news exists because these feelings are real, because they have substance, because they are deliberate, and because they are unwavering. They have been considered, revisited, understood, and accepted within the quiet spaces of my mind and heart, until now, when they can be expressed aloud, in the hope that the honesty they carry will resonate, be felt, and be received for what it truly is. I want you to know that this news is not born of impulse, nor is it fleeting or superficial. It is the result of thought, reflection, and the recognition of something rare, something extraordinary, something that has quietly grown into a presence so meaningful that the heart cannot help but respond. And the heart responds not with urgency, not with demand, not with expectation, but with the calm and steady acknowledgement that certain truths are simply too important, too genuine, too powerful to remain unspoken. And that is why I am here, speaking to you now, offering this news, offering this truth, offering the realization that what has been quietly cherished, observed, and felt for so long deserves recognition, deserves expression, deserves to exist beyond the private space of reflection and into the world where it can be shared, acknowledged, and understood. The good news is about presence, the presence you have in my life, the presence you have in my thoughts, the presence you have in the quiet, reflective moments when the world is still and the mind wanders to the things that matter most. Your presence has shaped my perception of possibility, of connection, and of what it means to care genuinely, deeply, and without reservation. It is a presence that has inspired hope, reflection, and appreciation in ways that are subtle yet profound, in ways that are quiet yet transformative, in ways that are persistent yet gentle. And it is precisely because of this presence that the news I bring is good, because it is not only a reflection of feelings, but a recognition of the rare, invaluable, and extraordinary influence someone can have on another, simply by being themselves, simply by existing, simply by sharing glimpses of their world, their thoughts, their laughter, and their kindness. I have learned, through careful consideration and patient observation, that the most profound truths often lie in what is quietly felt, rather than loudly proclaimed. They exist in the awareness of small gestures, the subtle patterns of care and attention, the moments when someone's essence touches another in ways that are invisible to the world but indelible to the heart. And in this learning, I have realized that the good news I bring is the acknowledgement of such a truth, that your presence, your energy, your essence, has been quietly, persistently, and profoundly meaningful, shaping thoughts, inspiring emotions, and creating a depth of feeling that can no longer remain contained within silence. I have good news for you because feelings of this nature, when they grow to such significance, demand to be shared, not to compel, not to impose, but to exist in the open space where acknowledgement can take place, where understanding can flourish, and where connection can emerge in its purest, most honest form. These feelings have been considered, revisited, and nurtured carefully, patiently, and intentionally. They are not transient, they are not superficial. They are the product of reflection, of admiration, of quiet contemplation, and of the recognition of the extraordinary impact someone can have without even realizing it. And now, as I share this news, I hope you can feel the calm sincerity, the careful consideration, and the profound respect with which it is offered. I have good news for you because the heart has recognized something exceptional, something meaningful, something worth expressing. And it is in this expression that we find the quiet courage to open ourselves, to be vulnerable, to acknowledge truth without reservation, and to offer connection without expectation. The good news exists because it is grounded in authenticity, in honesty, and in the deliberate choice to speak what has been quietly known for a long time. It is not a fleeting thought, it is not a passing feeling. It is a deliberate acknowledgement of the way your presence has shaped, enriched, and transformed my inner world, creating space for hope, joy, and genuine admiration to flourish. And I want you to understand that in sharing this news, there is no demand, no pressure, no expectation. There is only the offering of truth, the presentation of sincerity, and the acknowledgement of a feeling that has grown quietly, patiently, and steadily into something that can no longer remain hidden. It is good news because it is real, because it is considered, because it is deliberate, because it is steady, and because it carries the weight of quiet reflection, of patient observation, and of the recognition of something rare, extraordinary, and profoundly meaningful. I have good news for you because the heart, once it has recognized such depth and significance, can not remain silent. It must express, it must communicate, it must extend itself in honesty, clarity, and vulnerability, for some truths are too essential, too meaningful, too profound to exist only in private thought. And so, in this moment, I speak these words, not in haste, not in impulse, not in need, but in quiet acknowledgement of something that has been carefully considered, deeply felt, and patiently nurtured until it has grown into a truth worthy of being shared, acknowledged, and honored. The news is good because it represents courage, the courage to be vulnerable, the courage to speak sincerely, the courage to open the heart without expectation, and to offer connection, understanding, and honesty in its purest form. It is good because it embodies patience, thoughtfulness, and reflection, demonstrating that the feelings I carry are not superficial or fleeting, but deliberate, genuine, and enduring. And above all, it is good because it is honest. honest in intention, honest in expression, honest in the recognition of the extraordinary impact someone can have on another, simply by existing, simply by sharing moments, simply by being present in ways both quiet and meaningful. I have good news for you because the truth, once it has been recognized, nurtured, and grown to significance, deserves to be shared. It deserves to exist beyond private contemplation. It deserves to be expressed with sincerity, patience, and care in the hope that it can be received as what it is, a genuine, heartfelt acknowledgement of the way someone has mattered, continues to matter, and has inspired feelings that are both profound and enduring. And as I share this news, I hope you can feel the quiet confidence, the calm sincerity, and the depth of reflection that accompanies it, because these words are not casual, they are deliberate, considered, and offered with the full weight of honesty, admiration, and heartfelt sincerity. I have good news for you, and as I say these words, I want you to feel the care, the patience, and the quiet intensity behind them, because this is not something spoken lightly or without reflection. This is the result of countless moments of thought, observation, and quiet realization. Moments when I notice the small things you do, the gestures that often go unseen by the world but leave lasting impressions on the heart. Moments when your presence has quietly shaped my thoughts, my emotions, and the way I experience life itself. The good news is not about grandeur, nor is it about fleeting circumstances or temporary feelings. It is about truth, authenticity, and the deep, undeniable acknowledgement that someone can profoundly affect another person simply by being who they are. It is good news because it is real, because it is steady, because it has been nurtured patiently and allowed to grow into something meaningful and enduring. I have realized that life presents us with moments that seem ordinary at first glance, yet carry extraordinary significance when the right person encounters them. And in so many ways, you have been that extraordinary presence, quietly, consistently, without even realizing the impact you have had. Each glance, each smile, each unspoken word, each subtle act of kindness or thoughtfulness has quietly accumulated in my mind and heart, forming a tapestry of admiration, respect, and heartfelt connection that cannot be ignored any longer. The news I bring is good because it represents acknowledgement, recognition, and the willingness to express something deeply important without hesitation or fear. These feelings, which have grown over time, have become too strong, too meaningful, and too beautiful to remain unspoken. They demand to be shared, not to compel a specific outcome, not to impose, but simply to exist in the space between honesty and connection, in the hope that they may be received with understanding, awareness, and the recognition of the sincerity behind them. I have good news for you because the heart, once it recognizes something extraordinary, cannot remain silent. It must speak, it must act, it must offer itself in the most honest, open, and vulnerable way possible. And that is what I am doing now. I am speaking not in haste, not in impulse, not out of desire for reward, but out of a recognition that some truths are too significant, too beautiful, too profoundly felt to remain hidden or contained. I want you to know that the news is good because it embodies courage, the courage to be vulnerable, the courage to open the heart, and the courage to share what is deeply, genuinely, and honestly felt. It is a courageous act precisely because it carries no expectations, no conditions, and no demands. It is offered freely, deliberately, and sincerely, with the hope that the truth it represents will resonate and be received as it was intended, as a reflection of care, admiration, and deep heartfelt affection. I have good news for you because it is the culmination of patient observation, thoughtful reflection, and quiet understanding. These feelings have not arisen suddenly, they have grown steadily, nurtured by time, attention, and the recognition of something rare and valuable in your presence. They have developed in the quiet spaces of thought and reflection, strengthened by the awareness of your impact, and finally have reached the point where they can no longer remain unspoken. It is good news because it is deliberate, honest, and meaningful. It is good news because it represents a truth that has endured the test of time and reflection and emerged stronger, steadier, and more sincere than ever before. It is good news because it embodies patience, thoughtfulness, and respect, the qualities that have guided the development of these feelings, ensuring that they are not fleeting or superficial, but enduring, considered, and genuine. I have good news for you because it is grounded in authenticity, in acknowledgement, and in the simple, profound truth that someone has mattered, matters, and inspires feelings that are real, deep, and lasting. It is good news because it reflects the quiet power of connection, the extraordinary impact one person can have on another, and the way that genuine affection, admiration, and respect can grow into something that is not only meaningful but transformative, shaping thoughts, emotions, and the experience of life itself. The news is good because it is steady and deliberate, offered without haste, without expectation, without pretense. It is a reflection of sincerity, honesty, and heartfelt care, qualities that have guided the development of these feelings from the first moments of awareness to the point where they could no longer remain silent. I want you to feel the intention behind every word, the calmness in every sentence, the quiet depth that has grown steadily in the space between thought and expression. The good news is not loud, it is not flashy, it is not designed to impress or overwhelm. It is quiet, steady, and deliberate, like a gentle current that flows persistently and shapes the landscape over time. And in that quiet persistence, it becomes undeniable, meaningful, and real. I have good news for you because this truth, once recognized, nurtured, and grown, deserves to be shared, deserves to be expressed, and deserves to exist beyond the confines of private reflection. It is the acknowledgement that life is richer, brighter, and more meaningful because of your presence, the way you exist, and the subtle ways you influence those around you, whether knowingly or unknowingly. The good news exists because it represents the willingness to be vulnerable, to speak sincerely, and to offer connection without expectation. It is the recognition that honesty, patience, and care can create moments of understanding, moments of profound connection, and moments that leave lasting impressions on the heart. I have good news for you because feelings of this depth, sincerity, and meaning cannot remain silent forever. They demand expression, they demand acknowledgement, and they demand to be shared with the person who has inspired them. They are offered now with the hope that they may be received with understanding, recognition, and the awareness of the care and thoughtfulness that has gone into their development. It is good news because it embodies authenticity, deliberate intention, and the quiet courage that comes from opening the heart, acknowledging truth, and speaking sincerely without expectation or demand. It is good news because it reflects the extraordinary way in which one person can touch another's life, inspiring feelings that are profound, enduring, and deeply meaningful. I have good news for you because the heart has recognized a rare and precious truth, nurtured it patiently, and now offers it openly, honestly, and sincerely in the hope that it will be understood, felt, and acknowledged for what it truly is, a reflection of care, admiration, and deep heartfelt connection. The good news exists because it represents courage, patience, honesty, and the quiet power of a connection that cannot be ignored, cannot be contained, and cannot remain unspoken. It is a truth that deserves to be heard, to be felt, and to exist in the space between thought and expression, in the hope that it may resonate, inspire understanding, and create a space of genuine heartfelt recognition. And so, I share it now with calmness, sincerity, and the full weight of thoughtfulness, patience, and reflection that it deserves, because some truths, once recognized, must exist in the open, and the feelings I carry are too significant, too genuine, and too meaningful to remain silent any longer. I have good news for you because it is a truth that has grown, endured, and persisted, waiting for the right moment to be expressed, the right person to hear it, and the right heart to receive it. And that moment is now,